Hi, welcome to the IT Expert channel. How are you doing? Today I'm going to talk about C# development. And one of the most annoying questions can be asked during C# developer interview and is what are the differences between interface and abstract class in the C#? Basically, this question is about deep understanding of the object-oriented programming principles. But why many of developers have the problems with the answer to this question? Because in a real development world, it is possible not to use interfaces and abstract classes during your daily tasks in a C# development. And if you are not using some principles and patterns during a long period of time, you start simply to forget about it. Yes, you can Google it, Google for the answer to this question, for the differences, and keep it in mind. But again, if you are not using it, you will forget it shortly. What can we do here? There is only proper way here. Let's have a look together when and why we should use interfaces and or abstract classes in a C# object model, and what are the preferences we will have, what can be done in which cases and what cannot. And then we will figure out this question once and forever. Are you with me? Let's start then. Before we start, I am highly recommending you to repeat each step we are doing in this tutorial by your own hands. This will definitely help you to remember the things and understand them. To do this, please ensure you have Visual Studio installed on your laptop. If not, please go to the link in the description below and download the free version of the Visual Studio and install it. Click the pause and come back to the course. Okay, let's start. I created some console application for the output included in our solution and some class libraries for data model. I'm going to use the cars as a data object for our demonstration. So I created three classes, which are petrol car, diesel car, and hybrid car. And each class have the same property called car code and two methods, body assembly and setup engine. As an output in our console application, I'm creating one instance per each class, one per petrol car, and so on, and call our methods body assembly and setup assembly for each instance. So let's run our application, and we can see an output called two methods from each instance. And we can see that we have the same string here where the same method is called for each class and the different method for the assembly and body for each class as well. So basically this is not good, definitely to have the same code repeating in our solution. It's a source of errors, exceptions, and make maintenance of the code is more difficult, stuff like that. So let's fix it. To do this, let's create other class, which is car, and move all repeating stuff into this class. Here, and just remove it from the rest of the classes, and inherit our classes from the base one. Let's build Let's run. Is it working? Is it fine? Yes, it's working. We have no repeating code, but we have one problem here. It is possible for me to create an instance, the base class, and we can call some body assembly from here. That basically means we have one car with a body but with no engine, which is not good actually. And we are going to prevent developers from creating an instance of the base class. But we are going to keep possibility to inherit from. How we can do this? Simply, we'll set this base car class as an abstract class. Yeah? Now, the rest of the classes is inherits from the abstract class, but it gives an exception, cannot create an instance of abstract class or interface like car. So we delete it. And here we have one important thing to remember. This is impossible to create an instance of the abstract class. Okay, let's go to the next topic. And let's imagine we have a task to have some presentation of the list of our cars. Some kind of a table, iteration through all cars of all different objects and classes we have. So if we are using different classes, different instances, then we need to iterate them through them separately. So as we have now, for example, so we have petrol car, we are calling methods here, a diesel car, and stuff like that. So let's have a kind of list. List of what? We need to have all of them. This is possible by have a list of dynamic objects. So list dynamic car list, and like this. Now we can to push all our cars here at and do the same for the rest. And now let's iterate on them. Not car, but some car in car list, and call our methods here. And we have additionally car code. Let's go to here. Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. Let's start. Let's remove this stuff from here because we don't need it anymore. We're calling it here. We have an exception because of the types. Let's fix it here. Heart. Is it working? Yes, it's working. But we have one problem. For example, we want to rename this. For example, car code unique. Let's build it. Rebuild all successfully. Let's run it. And of course we have an exception here, because there is no such car code property anymore, and it is not controlled on our compilation time, so we cannot have exception until we run the application, which is very bad from the production point of view. So the dynamic functionality very useful and rich. But in this case, to better getting rid of this. How we get rid of it? How we get rid of this issue? We can use the interfaces. Let's create one interface called iCar. Public interface iCar. Yeah. And let's move our car code, let's rename it back and move it into the interface. Wow. Yeah. And we have an exception. Yeah. Let's see what is this. Interfaces cannot instance field. And here we have first difference between interface and abstract class. Abstract class can have field, but the interface can have the property only. Sorry, before I called the car code property as well in a class, but in a class this is field. Here we have to have property by setting accessors. Like this. Fine. No, we still have an exception. What is this? The modifier public is not valid for the interface. Yeah, it's the version C# 7.3, and let's talk about 8.0 later. Now we're talking about classic stuff. So basically interface cannot have the access modifiers, which is public, static, private, stuff like that, because all members of the interfaces should be public, not should be, but are the public by default, because the interface, this is so-called contract between data object and data model. Let's remove public, and the exception is gone. Yeah, how are we going to use it? Let's inherit our base class car from our interface. Car. What is this? Car does not implement interface member car code. Yes, because after we're inheriting from the interface, Visual Studio is checking if everything from the interface is implemented in a class. So while we have car code here, we need to implement it here. And we have to have this public. Now it's fine. And what we are going to do now? We are going to replace dynamic with the iCar here. So now you can see that we can add any instances of our classes to the list, but we have problems with calling methods. So let's see, because we need to have those methods in our interface. I remove the accessors. Why we have exception here? Because we cannot implement anything in interface. Another difference between interface and abstract class in C#. In an interface we can have only signature of the method, only the name of the method. But in an abstract class we can have implementation of the method. So let's fix it. So now we have to set some implementation here. We're good to go. Yeah. Run. Yeah, all methods are working, but please have a look here. Setting up the basic engine. So only default method from our base abstract class now is executing, but we want to execute different method for each class instance. Let's fix it. How we can fix it? We can set this method as an abstract and remove implementation. And here we need to override method in each class. What? Yeah, here. What? You see, now the behavior of abstract class is the same as the interface. Basically, we just have a signature for this method, and we're adding implementation by overriding this method in the child classes, in the children classes. So let's run it. And yeah, now it's fine. So the same as a blind car body in each method, and the setting up the engine is different for each instance. So far so good. Basically only one topic left to be covered. So for example, let's create another interface called iElectric car. Public interface. Which will have only one property, battery capacity. And let's add another class. And create another abstract class. for the electric car, e-car, public battery capacity, and this is important. Let's make it inherit from the electric car and from the iCar. And we have implementation of the barcode, car code, and we need to implement the rest of the methods as well. Car body, public, and let's create the class for the electric car, e-car, and electric engine. So let's create the instance, electric car, we have battery capacity, for example 400 hours moving. Yeah, you see we have the battery capacity accessible here because we are creating instance from this. This is totally fine. Let's add it to our list. And you see we can iterate from this. We just add easily another instance, another type of car in our data model, and we are not changing our iteration here, which is very good. Actually, this is the point to use interfaces. Here we can check if some car is electric car, then output the battery capacity. Let's start, and now it's fine. Electric engine and battery capacity is, we have output only when we have electric car. But here important to see that we have multiple inheritance. You know that you cannot inherit from multiple classes in the C#, but you can inherit from the multiple interfaces. And there is the last point to remember for us, that we can inherit from multiple interfaces, but we cannot inherit from multiple abstract classes as well as from the regular classes. So let's make some summary. The difference one, abstract class can have fields and methods implemented, some default implementation of the methods. Interfaces not. Interface can have only property and signature of the method. Abstract class can have private, static and other types of the access modifiers. Interface no, because interface can have only public members. This is the purpose of the interface. You cannot inherit from multiple abstract classes, but you can inherit from the multiple interfaces. And number 4, abstract class can have constructors as well as regular classes. Interfaces cannot. Well, we are done. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Please subscribe to my channel, press the likes, be lucky and healthy. Good luck and see you next time.